playing for his top 8 life here on the line.
And Gerry has had some pretty impressive matches so far today. We've gotten to see him a little bit, but mostly I just see him walking by us as he finishes his match early because he's just seems to smoke every opponent he's up against.
One thing that I've noticed watching Gerry play this deck is he sequences everything very well. There are a lot of game actions to take when you're playing this green-white deck. You have a lot of choices on which spells to play and when to play them because you have this glut at like the 3 and 4 mana spot.
Yep.
And Gerry has just been sequencing his spells very, very well.
Yeah, the other thing that's interesting too is this green-white tokens deck, it's actually pretty hard to play. If you make the wrong move and you don't get enough value out of your planeswalker and it dies easily, you're going to be in a pretty bad spot. So it's going to be interesting to see here how Gerry uses his planeswalkers and his Avacens and his Hangerback Walkers. All of those can be used in multiple different ways.
Well, Austin's going to take a turn off and deploy Cryptolith Right. Gerry has a Sylvan Advocate. But this Eldrazi Sky Spawner for Austin is going to put 2 bodies on the battlefield, which is going to give him 2 mana from that Cryptolith Right, plus the mana from sacrificing that Eldrazi Sky Spawner. So we could see a pretty impactful turn next turn for Austin, where he's playing 2 or even 3 threats.
Yeah, this is definitely a matchup where Austin is the aggressor, Gerry's a little bit of the defender, and Austin gets a mana advantage through these cards like Cryptolith Right, the Eldrazi Scions, and also cards like Collected Company and Reflector Mage.
So let's see what Gerry wants to do here. Looks like he's going to, I bet he's going to make Austin sacrifice an enchantment and kill off. Well, he killed off the Eldrazi Scion.
So it looks like Gerry is valuing the mana that Eldrazi Scion potentially can be more than the flying attacker of Eldrazi Sky Spawner, which is pretty interesting because the Sky Spawner is a great way to attack flyers, or excuse me, planeswalkers, but Gerry may just be in a situation where he doesn't have any planeswalkers to deploy in the near future.
Yeah, looks like he also has a copy of Archangel Avacyn in his hand. Getting rid of that Cryptolith Right and the Scion is a pretty big game here because Austin had a Reality Smasher in his hand, and that is the card that Gerry cannot answer very cleanly.
Yeah, that would have been huge.
Here we just have a basic forest. Austin did pass on his turn with 4 mana available. I wonder what he could possibly be doing.
Yeah, what could it be?
Could be anything.
Could be a boat. So we'll see what Austin gets off this Collected Company. He's really looking for a Reflector Mage and something else. A Duskwatch Recruiter would actually be a pretty nice card. But that looks like a Nissa. Nissa is great. He's only got 1 of, and that's a pretty fortunate hit.
Yeah, so getting a Nissa and a Sylvan Advocate here, this is going to help get him closer to that 6-land threshold to turn on that Sylvan Advocate. If he can get to that point before Gerry, he might be able to sneak in some damage, and that ends up making the 2 damage that he gets from that flying Eldrazi Sky Spawner even more important.
Yeah, Sylvan Advocate and Nissa Vastwood Seer are certainly a match made in heaven. Those two are like 2 peas in a pod.
Time and time again, we just see how insane the value you can gain is off of this Collected Company card.
Yeah, but a lot of it also has to do with what cards you hit off of it. You got to have good deck construction so that you're likely to hit cards, and you also want them to be synergistic in some form.
Well, here we have a Reality Smasher is going to come down for Austin. He's going to crash in with that Smasher and the Eldrazi Sky Spawner. Let's see what Gerry wants to do. He's just going to take the 7 damage. He's going to fall down to 11. He doesn't have a play on Austin's end step. But now here, once he hits 5 mana, he will have access to Archangel Avacyn.
Yeah, so Gerry had a good turn 2 and a turn 3 with his Advocate and Jamoka's command, but the fact that he had nothing on turn 4 is pretty unfortunate. That's a big turn to do nothing on.
Especially considering Austin has done everything. Turns
Right.
2, 3, 4, and 5. Very impactful plays on the board.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how Gerry chooses to catch up. I think that this Archangel Avacyn is hopefully going to be a big move. Unfortunately, it's going to be telegraphed pretty clearly.
Well, Gerry's going to sneak in 2 points of damage with that Sylvan Advocate. Austin is not going to block, falling to 16. He will be able to play his 6th land this turn, though, and that's going to turn on his Sylvan Advocate.
Yeah, and between this Reality Smasher and the big Sylvan Advocate, even with the Archangel Avacyn, Gerry's likely to take quite a bit of damage if there's an all-out attack.
Well, we have a Reflector Mage is going to bounce that Sylvan Advocate for Gerry. Austin's going to play his 6-land attack with all of his creatures.
And this is big. And this is exactly why Gerry needs a card like Planar Outburst or Linvala from the sideboard, because Austin is going to put Gerry in this situation a lot, and Gerry needs ways to get out of it.
It's also important to note that that Sylvan Advocate being turned on is going to make that Lumbering Falls be a pretty potent threat in the next few turns.
Right. And all Gerry can do here is block the Sylvan Advocate and take 9, go to 2. He would really like to eat up one of the other creatures, but with his life total so low, he's not afforded that opportunity.
So it looks like he is just going to block, go to 2, take his turn. He does have a couple copies of Declaration in Stone, so he might be able to
if he could
cobble something together. Unfortunately, he's not able to redeploy that Sylvan Advocate this turn.
Yeah, if he could flip his Avacyn and then like a 0 Hanger Back Walker and Declaration in Stone his opponent's Sylvan Advocate, that would put him in a situation to stabilize on that board, but unfortunately he has no such play, no good way to catch up, and now we're going to be going on to the sideboard.
Gerry's going to lose that game. Didn't think I'd be saying that to Austin. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboards and see what we think these players are going to do as we head into game 2. Gerry has 2 Declaration in Stone, 3 Planar Outburst, 2 Nissa Vastwood Seer, 2 Linvala the Preserver, a Den Protector, an Enlightened Ascetic, a 2 Stasis Snare, and 2 Secure the Waste. How do you think Gerry's going to sideboard?
So I think Gerry's going to bring in the 3 Planar Outbursts and the 2 Linvalas. I was mentioning those before. I don't think he's going to be bringing in any of his other cards. I think it's just going to be those.
Don't think he wants any more of the spot removal, Stasis Snare, Declaration in Stone?
The Planar Outbursts are going to do a lot in the removal department. He wants to keep his Dromoka's commands because they are so good against the Cryptothrite. They're great combat tricks. And the Declaration in Stone, while it's good against its opponents, Reality Smashers, Dromoka's command is going to be good against everything else and without having to give his opponent a card.
Austin has 3 copies of Matter Reshaper, 1 Reality Smasher, 2 Dromoka's Command, 3 Thought-Knot Seer, 3 Negate, and 3 Declaration Stone. How do you think Austin's going to side?
So I think the way that Austin's going to sideboard is I think he's going to be bringing in the 2 Dromoka's Commands. They're both dealing with similar-sized creatures. Dromoka's Commands can be great in that situation. I also think that there's a good chance he brings Thought-Knot Seer. And the other card that I think he might bring in is the Negate. Negate can be a great way to deal with opponents' Planeswalkers. Reality Smasher also coming in for the same reason.
All right, well, I do know that Gerry has a big affinity for foreign cards. If you look, he likes to play with a lot of foreign cards. And while we don't have a sale going on for foreign cards right now, we do have a weekly sale at StarCityGames.com for foil cards. So if you can get up to 50% off select foil rares and foil mythics, this is going to end, though, Monday, tomorrow, at 10:59 a.m. So you really only have a handful of hours to get in on this deal. But if you wanted to get, as we can see there, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, Misdirection, Hangerback Walker, or you have a Maya Coast in foil for your deck, feel free to check out that weekly sale, StarCityGames.com, 50% off, foil rares and foil mythics. Ends Monday, 10:59 a.m. As our players here are shuffling up, Gerry Thompson, 14-0, playing to go 15-0.
Why would he lose?
Why
would he do it?
I don't know why he would ever lose.
Why lose if you don't have to?
But it does happen sometimes. I do want to point out here, give you a little stats. So we touched on this earlier in the cast, and Nick Miller tweeted it out. But I'm still so blown away by these stats that we want to look at it.
Unreal.
In 2016 for Opens, Gerry Thompson is currently 65-11 in day ones. Over 9 Opens, he has 2 9-0s, 4 8-1s, a 7-2, a 6-3, and a 2-2 drop where he decided to try some weird dredge deck in Modern, which he definitely regrets. He has 2 top 8s over that time, so he's been able to dominate day 1, but day 2 he's kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit. Not this time. He has just crushed all of day 2. Currently 14-0. He's down a game against Austin, but I'm not going to count him out until the chips actually hit the table.
And it's great for Gerry. There's got to be no stress on him right now. Even if he loses, he's still going to be the highest seed.
Yeah.
He's literally just playing for fun.
Yeah, this is just a free roll. He's playing just to see if he can go 15-0.
He's just playing because he likes Magic.
Well, yeah, don't we all?
He's got that passion. He's got that fire in his belly. All he wants to do is game.
Well, he is going to be on the play here, which is going to be pretty big. Austin was able to get quite a bit of an advantage there being on the play. Looks like both players are going to keep their hands, maybe.
I think where things really fell apart for Gerry is when he didn't have a play on turn 4. Not having a play on turn 2 is a little more excusable, but having nothing on turn 4 is a big warning sign that this draw may not come together.
Well, Gerry's just going to start out with a Sylvan Advocate on turn 2 after playing a Fortified Village into Plains. Austin has a Lumbering Falls. Let's see if he has a turn 2 play. He's wanting something like a Sylvan Advocate here to match. He does not. He is just going to play a Canopy Vista tap to pass the turn back to Gerry. Let's see if Gerry can capitalize on this slow start from Austin.
Yeah, if Gerry could land something like a Nissa here, that would be phenomenal. An Evolutionary Leap is okay. I'm a little surprised to see it come in. I think that Gerry maybe just wants it to act as an extra way to flip his Avacyn. I think that's the main reason that it's in the post board.
Well, Leap is going to hit the battlefield. He's going to attack Austin for 2 down to 18 with his Sylvan Advocate and pass the turn back. Let's see what route Austin decides he wants to take here. Looks like Gerry does have a copy of Planar Outburst in his hand. So this Evolutionary Leap does give him a way to try and get some value off any creatures that he has on the battlefield before he has to use the Outburst.
Yeah, the Evolutionary Leap and Planar Outburst certainly have some nice synergy.
My big concern with Outburst is that Austin is still able to use cards like Collected Company to get creatures on the battlefield before it happens. And as we see there in Austin's hand, he has 3 copies of Negate. It looks like he's brought some of them in, and that might be able to catch Gerry off guard if he's banking on resolving a Planar Outburst on a critical turn.
Yeah, I've certainly had a lot of my Tragic Arrogances get negated, and it's always unfortunate, but you just need those big cards that can catch you up from behind, because this Bant Rights deck is always going to put you to the test.
Well, Austin is going to play a Duskwatch Recruiter on his turn 3 and pass back to Gerry. He does have a 4th land. What we haven't seen here in either of these 2 games so far are any Planeswalkers.
Yeah, pretty surprising.
Well, Gerry's going to go ahead and cash in his Sylvan Advocate after attacking Austin down to 16. He finds another Sylvan Advocate and just adds it to the battlefield.
And I think the thing that Gerry's really looking for is putting together some Avacyns and Hanger Backwalkers. His ability to wipe the board is one of the great things that he can do in the matchup.
Well, Austin's just going to pass the turn. His Duskwatch Recruiter should transform here into a Kralin I can't even pronounce that word. It's Kralin Horde Howler. There we go. On Gerry's turn.
That's better than me. I would just call it the flipped Duskwatch Recruiter.
Looks like the players are kind of glossed over the transformation. Maybe we'll get that fixed. Gerry is going to get to attack here with his 2/3. Looks like they missed the transform trigger. Austin's going to fall down to 16. And that's actually very good for Gerry that the trigger was missed, as now he can get in some damage with that Advocate.
Yeah.
Collected Company, though, is...
Ooh, and I saw at least 1 Reflector Mage.
So we're going to get an Advocate and a Reflector Mage. Man, Reflector Mage is so good.
Yeah, it's a great card. Reflector Mage is really the reason that you can make these 3-color decks with kind of shaky mana bases, because between Reflector Mage and Collected Company, you can always fall behind and then push tempo even far into the mid-game.
Well, Gerry is going to sacrifice his Sylvan Advocate rather than let it go back to his hand to the Evolutionary Leap. He is going to find a copy of Den Protector.
And Gerry's in kind of rough shape here. He doesn't even get to represent Avacyn because he only has 1 white... Or no, he does have 2 white sources of mana. So by sacking the Advocate, though, he's unable to represent Avacyn even. And Austin has free attacks.
Austin's going to go ahead and crash in for 6 with his 3 creatures. Drop Gerry down to 14. He has a Duskwatch Recruiter, a Sylvan Advocate, and a Reflector Mage on the battlefield. And he's just going to pass back yet again with 4 mana available. Now we're going to have that Duskwatch Recruiter transform to Kralin Horde Howler.
And now Gerry's probably going to be forced to cast this Planar Outburst. And if Austin has a negate for it, Gerry's going to be in an extremely bad situation. This is one of the things that's a little tricky about the matchup is you want to have enough going on the board so that your opponent is forced to tap out more frequently so that you're given an opportunity to try to land your sweeper when they're tapped out. But because one of Gerry's early plays was Evolutionary Leap, which doesn't affect the board. And then on top of that, Gerry's turn 5, he didn't deploy anything to the board. If Austin has a counter spell, Gerry's going to get blown out here. But it looks like he's going to instead go for this Den Protector.
Looks like he's just going to play a Den Protector face down. Let's see if Austin has another company here. He does not. He's just sitting on that negate. Very heads-up play by Austin to try and play around some kind of sweeper.
Yeah, it's pretty common for these green-white tokens decks to have Tragic Arrogance or Planar Outburst in 2 to 3 copies. And I think Austin knows that while he's ahead on the board, holding up that negate is a worthwhile endeavor.
Looks like we're going to see a Reality Smasher here, discounted from the Howler. A lot of damage is going to come through. I imagine Gerry's going to chump, flip that Den Protector.
So what's great about Austin going for the Reality Smasher here is he has another Reality Smasher in hand, I believe. And this is, attack is going to be sending Gerry down to 5, I believe. So if Austin can just hit a land drop, even if Gerry sweeps the board, Austin's going to be able to come crashing in with a second Reality Smasher to take the game.
Well, if Gerry has an untapped land here, he can Planar Outburst and then play a 4/5 Sylvan Advocate, which will give him a little bit of insulation against another Reality Smasher if that happens to come along.
And Gerry could have easily fired off that Planar Outburst on the previous turn. By waiting for his opponent to tap out, he's able to ensure that it's going to land.
Now that he's solidified the board, he just kind of has to push this mana advantage that he has.
Yeah. And if Austin had drawn a 5th land, that Reality Smasher wouldn't have killed Gerry, but it would have forced a chump block on that Sylvan Advocate, putting Austin in a very good position.
Austin's going to use a Declaration in Stone to get rid of the Sylvan Advocate on Gerry's side, and then play a Duskwatch Recruiter of his own. Let's see what Gerry has here to try and fight back.
So even though Gerry's life total is pretty low, I would still put him in a favorable position. Things are going to be pretty tight in terms of him turning this game around. He's got to be careful about his life total, and he's not going to have as many options because 5 is a precarious life total against a Reality Smasher for sure.
So he has a face-down Den Protector. He has that Avacyn in his hand. Austin has drawn a 5th land to try and land that Reality Smasher here, but it's not really going to be able to do much with that Avacyn coming down, giving the team indestructible, and then being able to ambush the Reality Smasher.
And if Austin had hit more of his land drops, we would be seeing a completely different game. But as it is, Austin is just unable to deploy all the cards from his hand, and Gerry's able to claw back into this game and potentially dominate and has the luxury to make things line up a little bit more favorably for him.
Now this looks like it's going to be a Reflector Mage. And one of the unique things here about bouncing the Morph token is Morph tokens have no names. So that's a Den Protector. Will be revealed, but next turn Gerry could just either play a face-up Den Protector or just play it face down yet again.
Yeah, and Gerry had the opportunity to activate his Den Protector to get a card back. By not doing so, it is abundantly clear that Gerry has an Avacyn that he would like to play.
Well, the Avacyn was revealed from the Evolutionary Leap.
Oh, of course, yep.
So Austin did know that the Avacyn was coming.
Yep.
That's why he wasn't going to attack with that Duskwatch Recruiter as long as Gerry had the mana available. But now that we have this Avacyn, he might be able to do something like use the Hangerback Walker he just found to flip the Avacyn and kill off Austin's board. He definitely has a lot of potential here, and that Avacyn could just win the game in 5 short attacks.
Yeah, this Avacyn is a big deal. Not only is it a great threat, but with that Evolutionary Leap in play, Austin has to worry about it getting flipped.
Oh, he doesn't even have to play it for 0. He can just Evolutionary Leap.
Get a card out of it. And this is going to be tough. Austin has that Declaration in Stone, but it is sorcery speed, so this Avacyn is going to get an opportunity to flip. Gerry's not only going to be able to cycle his Hangerback Walker for a card, but also that Thopter token for a card before it dies to the Avacyn, dealing 3 damage to everything.
And he found another Avacyn off that Evolutionary Leap.
So he could even keep his Thopter if he wanted. Quite a brutal sequence.
Yep, he's just going to play the second Avacyn to keep his Thopter. Avacyn the Purifier is going to deal 3 damage to Austin, kill all of his creatures.
And now Austin is on a very fast clock, likely drawing dead.
I think the key to this game has been, well, outside of Austin missing his land drops, Gerry navigated the game to the point that has stranded this negate in Austin's hand, when that would have been the key card to stop Gerry's game plan of resolving that planar outburst.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was definitely one of the key points of this game. Yeah, and Gerry had his back up against the wall, but was able to line things up, thread the needle, and it looks like he's likely to take this game.
And that is the difference between being 14-0 and not, is taking the time off that turn when Austin would have been able to use the negate to play a Den Protector, block and get some value out of it, try and get Austin to tap out. Declaration of Stone is going to target that Avacyn the Purifier. Let's see if Gerry decides that he wants to get a card out of it.
So Gerry gets to sacrifice a creature, and this is going to flip his Avacyn. So this means that Gerry's Avacyn is going to be a lethal threat. So it looks like Gerry just has this so long as he remembers to flip his Avacyn, and I'm sure he'll remember to do so.
Oh, he's not going to remember.
Okay, well.
We have passed it. He has already drawn his card.
So did the Declaration of Stone resolve and give him that clue? Or did he sacrifice the Avacyn to...
He had the clue from the Advocate earlier.
Okay.
He sacrificed the Avacyn and found that copy of Nissa.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a Nissa. He's going to play it, get a land, transform the Nissa here. Game should be over, as that Avacyn should have transformed. Now, it could just be that he didn't transform it because he didn't want to give Austin the option of matter reshaping into like an Eldrazi Sky Spawner.
Sure.
So
I think Jerry's just playing with his food.
I don't think it's a May, so it's not something that he could have done intentionally.
Yeah, I think Jerry's just playing with his food. Archangel Avacyn is one of the premier cards of this format, basically because in so many situations it's just a great threat, but also it's a sweeper. It's one of these versatile cards, and so often when you have versatile cards, they're not actually that powerful. Like if you look at a card like Den Protector, it's pretty versatile, but for its mana cost, it's a little small. Avacyn is a big body, big impact, big sweeper, great card.
Oh, Avacyn's a non-angel creature. You
of course, non-angel. Jeez, I feel like as this day is going, I'm starting to fall apart a little.
Yeah. Well, Gerry was able to attack for 4. He's going to sacrifice his Thopter token to that Evolutionary Leap to trigger the flip on Austin's turn, and that's when he would die. Jerry's going to even this matchup 1-1. Still on that quest for 15-0. Do we think that we're going to have any sideboard changes here for the two players?
I think both players are essentially playing the same roles, and I think they're just going to shuffle their cards up, present again, and rock and roll.
Now, Gerry was one of the original tokens that we did at StarCityGames.com, and since then, they have evolved significantly, and there are a bunch of cool creature collection tokens now that you can get that come on playmats, sleeves, and even in bundles. So let's take a look at the creature collection while we wait for our players to finish up sideboarding. So we have the Otter Spell, so you can get tokens of these through game night, but you can also get a playmat and sleeves through a player bundle at go.starcitygames.com/creature collection. And the other one that's available is the Tiger.
Yep, that's the one I want. I already got names for them. I've decided it's Cowlin and the Boz.
And the Boz?
That's who those two tigers are.
All right, again, so you can get these playmat, sleeves, and player bundles. Go.starcitygames.com/creature collection. Make sure you get yours today, because they do get phased out after a certain amount of time.
Oh, I got to get those soon.
Just go over to the dealer booth and get some. I'm sure we got tigers.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
So as our players here are shuffling up and getting ready to go, let's see if we can learn a little bit more about Gerry Thompson. We do know that he's trying to go for 15-0 here, but he has some impressive numbers in his SCG Tour history.
Yeah, he is definitely one of the most accomplished players that we have on the Open Tour.
He is. He's 32 years of age from Elk River, Minnesota. He has 20 Open top 8s with 5 wins, 7 Invitational top 8s with 2 wins. Jason Ford, a friend of his, holds the right to name his firstborn child. At one time, he had $20,000 underneath his bed in his shoebox. That is not good planning.
Nope.
and he currently
That
practices.
is not a bank.
Currently practices partner acrobatics. $20,000 underneath his bed in his shoebox, and that's a true story.
Yeah, and it's true that your bed is not a bank. That is also a true story.
Your bed. Well, I mean, even if it was, I'm not going to put my money underneath the bank.
Yeah. So
it sounds like Tom has beat Cedric to move on to X and 3. Yep.
So I'm hoping both of these players this game get some good draws where they just are able to do productive things on turn 3, 4, and 5. Those are the key turns that are going to set the stage for this match. And I'm hoping both players are able to keep 7 and do impactful things on those times.
So that's pretty rough for Cedric to be X and 2 and then get paired against Gerry, turn down any notion of a concession and lose.
Yeah.
Get paired against Tom, playing a win and in, and then losing to Tom.
Yep. Yeah, well.
Rough beats for Cedric Phillips. Congratulations to Tom Ross. Hopefully his tiebreakers hold up and he gets to take that very unique white-red aggressive human stack into the top 8. Not very often do you see 4 lands in somebody's mono white aggro sideboard.
Yep. Yeah, either way, still a great run for Cedric. Done the coverage team proud. And, I'm sure we'll see him, whether it's in the booth or in a tournament, killing it.
All right, well, it looks like we're going into Game 3 here. For those of you just joining us, Austin Matthews is on Bant Rights. Gerry Thompson is on green-white tokens, currently 14-0 and 4th on our Player of the Year leaderboard. He has already locked up his spot for the Players' Championship in Roanoke at the end of the year. Looks like he's mulliganed to 6. He's kept his hand, scried to the bottom. We are off to the races. Austin Matthews is going to start with a Canopy Vista, Gerry Thompson with a Fortified Village. Let's see if Austin has a 2-drop.
And a mulligan to 6 on the draw is certainly something that does not bode well for Gerry. And with the Sylvan Advocate from Austin, we could see Gerry in a tough situation where he gets run over.
So Austin has a Sylvan Advocate. Gerry's just going to use a quick Declaration in Stone to get rid of it. He just wants to try and stay alive to the point where he can use Planar Outburst to try and catch up on the board. Austin does have an Eldrazi Sky Spawner, adds 2 bodies to the battlefield, which could be real important. And Gerry looks like he might be missing his 3rd land drop.
Yeah, firing off that Declaration of Stone was definitely a warning sign that there's something wrong with Gerry's hand. And in this particular case, it's because he doesn't have very many, or he doesn't have any other land drops. He needed a bunch of expensive spells. He knew that the most likely way he would lose this game is simply by not casting all of them. So you just got to fire him off on whatever while the opportunity presents itself.
Well, Austin's going to attack with his Eldrazi Scion and the Eldrazi Sky Spawner. If he had another land here and a Reality Smasher, he could have just been smashing, but it looks like he's going to try and get in some damage. See if Gerry decides to block. He could block the Eldrazi Scion, get a Thopter. That Thopter could then block that Sky Spawner and just kind of give Gerry some life for a few turns. At this point, he just needs to draw into some land and get into a mid to late game where he can take advantage of his sweepers.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go, though. I believe not only does he need to draw the lands, but he also needs to draw the sweepers. So at the top of his deck needs to give him quite a bit. Oh, I guess he does actually have a Planar Outburst in hand.
Well, Matter Reshaper is going to come down for Austin. Gerry finds his 3rd land, gets a copy of Nissa Vastwood Seer. This is going to find him a 4th land. This is exactly what he needed to get going.
Yeah, and this is perfect from here. Not only does he have his 4th land, but he also has at least 2 white and at least 2 green mana. So he's going to be able to cast everything in his deck. And all he needs is 1 more land drop, and he can cast that Planar Outburst.
Looks like he has a Gideon in his hand even. So this is starting to shape up to be very good for Gerry Thompson.
And the sequence of Gideon into Planar Outburst is a phenomenal line of play. You get to wipe the board, but keep your Planeswalker on the board. It's quite good. And this is also something that we highlighted in Cedric Phillips' match, because he would pair Gideon with Languish, which is a similar play.
Austin doesn't have a 5th land here. He's just going to cash in his Clue. It looks like he might use a Declaration in Stone to take care of that Nissa. He's going to hit the Thopter. It's going to deny Gerry a token. He's going to attack in. He's got a Sky Spawner and a Matter Reshaper. That Matter Reshaper is going to find a Collected Company on its Dodge trigger. He does have a 5th land. It's a Lumbering Falls. He's going to pass the turn. Gerry picked up another copy of Nissa, but he's just going to play a Gideon and make a 2-2. This looks like it could be a pretty potent board if he's able to use this Planar Outburst to catch up in the next couple of turns.
Yeah, and because Gerry knows that Austin has collected company, we may see him sequence it a little differently than he may otherwise do so.
Try and walk Austin into using that collected company prematurely and then catching up with the collected or the planar outburst.
The one thing that's unfortunate for Gerry is if Austin has a negate, he's got enough mana where he can continually deploy threats to the board and hold negate mana open if he so chooses.
After playing his 6th land, looks like Austin is contemplating using a Reflector Mage to get rid of that Knight ally token. Or not. Just going to attack Gideon down to 2. Going to play an Eldrazi Scion. And just past the turn, he has another Scion and a Reflector Mage in hand, but he does not want to overextend into a potential planar outburst.
And what's great about this is if Gerry does cast planar outburst, Austin can sacrifice that Scion, float a mana, and then after the planar outburst resolves, cast collected company. So I think this is actually a great play from Austin. He had a lot of options that turn, and I think he made the best one.
See how Gerry decides he wants to navigate this turn. He does miss his 5th land. He has another copy of Nissa in his hand, but that doesn't really help him right this turn.
Yeah, what's particularly unfortunate about this is Gerry is likely to lose his Gideon on Austin's turn, and Gerry was really hoping that he could play that Gideon, have it absorb a little damage, force Austin to commit more to the board, and then sweep everything away right before that Gideon died. And unfortunately, things aren't going to play out that way.
Well, he's going to tack in for 7, get Austin down to 12, play that Nissa Vastwood Seer, find a forest. This is going to turn on the Dromoka's command that's currently in his hand. And if Austin happens to attack poorly or slip up with the way he sequences this next turn, Gerry might be able to protect that Gideon with the Dromoka's command and keep it alive for an extra turn.
Yeah, that is definitely the #1 priority. Not only is that Gideon soaking up damage and protecting Gerry's life total, it's also going to be the one thing that he wants to keep alive until he casts that planar outburst.
Well, and here we have a collected company is going to be fired off. This is going to get a Sylvan Advocate and a Duskwatch Recruiter for Austin. So now that Gerry knows that that collected company has been used up, he might be enticed to use that planar outburst next turn, and that could change this game around depending on how much of his hand Austin puts down on the board.
Yeah, so much of this matchup, particularly when Gerry's on the draw, is all about Gerry resolving a big sweeper, whether it's flipping an Abyssin, planar outburst, tragic arrogance. Those cards that can catch him up from behind are all that matters.
Now, it is important to note that Austin does have a copy of Lumbering Falls on the battlefield, so even after that planar outburst, he will be able to pressure Gerry if Gerry doesn't have a Gideon sticking around providing 2/2s to block it.
Right. That's what's so great about Gideon, though. You play the planar outburst, then you activate your Gideon and make a 2/2. So good.
Let's see how Austin decides to navigate this turn. He is just going to go with that Lumbering Falls. He doesn't want to commit anything else to the board. He's going to take a point of damage to activate that Lumbering Falls, fall down to 11. Let's see where and how he decides to do this attack.
And that Lumbering Falls is indeed a 5/5 because of that Sylvan Advocate. And this is a lot of stuff coming across the board into the red zone. It looked like the Sky Spawners were at Gideon. I'm not sure what else went towards Gideon.
So looks like just the Sky Spawners at Gideon. So Gerry could put this Nissa in front of the Lumbering Falls and then use the Dromoka's command to fight off a Sky Spawner, and that will prevent maximum damage to him, save his Gideon, and then allow him to planar outburst next turn, make a token with Gideon, and keep it alive through an attack from a Lumbering Falls.
Yeah, I like that sequence quite a bit. Since he knows he's going to lose the Nissa anyway if he planar outbursts, this is a good way to save himself some life points also. The other thing that's nice about this is it may bait out a negate from Austin, which is pretty nice.
I wonder, I almost feel like Austin could have thought about the potential of this happening and maybe you can just send that Duskwatch Recruiter at Gideon to make sure it dies. I think like the way Austin loses this game is Gerry saving Gideon and untapping into a planar outburst, and you might be able to afford playing around that, since that 2 points of damage might not actually matter on Gerry.
I do agree.
So that's what we're going to see happen. Gerry is going to take a marginal amount of damage, fall down to 10.
Not yet. Don't flip that Recruiter yet.
Yep, there was a spell that was cast on his turn.
Jamoka's command.
Gerry's likely to attack with this knight just to see if Austin's going to block or not. Or he might just play the planar outburst in case there's a negate.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Gerry does here. I assume that he's going to be going for that planar outburst. That 2 mana open is a little scary, but Gerry may say, well, if he had negate, he probably would have used it on the Jamoka's command. But Gerry doesn't seem to have that many other options. He's got another Gideon and a Sylvan Advocate in hand. And you can play the Sylvan Advocate and make it a 4/5, which is quite good.
With the way Austin's been playing, with like a propensity to not overextend into this planar outburst by attacking with that Lumbering Falls last turn, I think that you're just kind of priced into using the outburst this turn. This is going to be interesting, though. He's going to attack with this Gideon.
So this makes me think that Gerry isn't going to play that planar outburst. And if I'm Austin, I may actually think that Gerry doesn't even have it.
He could just attack with this Gideon, and his plan is to just like play Gideon, make another knight, and then play a Sylvan Advocate.
He could do that. I think it might be more likely that he just plays Sylvan Advocate and says go.
Austin's going to take 5 and go down to 6. Now he's going to planar outburst, so he's going to let his Gideon die to the...
Oh, it's indestructible.
Well, the Lumbering Falls will be able to kill it.
Yeah.
So
the good thing about that, though, is if Austin is spending his mana to activate the Lumbering Falls to kill Gideon, that means he's not deploying as much to the board. Wow, and Austin just drew the negate.
Yeah.
1 turn too late.
Perfect
wow.
turn. But I mean, it could just be that's why he made this line, is he wanted Austin to take a turn off. That way now on this turn he can reload with a Sylvan Advocate and a Gideon. Austin finding that negate is going to be a little dampering, but he just drew a Linvala. All right, so Gideon's going to get negated. He's going to be able to play a Sylvan Advocate. Here Austin's going to reload with the 2 creatures that are in his hand, and then Linvala's going to come down and get some value.
Well, I don't think if Austin only plays 2 creatures, then when Gerry plays the Linvala...
One of them is a Sylvan Sky Spawner.
Oh,
also
perfect.
one is a Sky Spawner, and one of them is also a Reflector Mage, which is going to bounce that Sylvan Advocate.
So this is going to be great for Gerry. He doesn't even need the life either. And this 5/5 is basically unbeatable in this matchup. Once that 5/5 hits the board, Austin has no good way to deal with it. The fact that it's flying means it's really hard for him to block also. So we could be looking at a Gerry 15-0 not too long from now.
Here comes the Reflector Mage. He's going to take a point of damage. He's going to play that Sky Spawner. Gerry's going to be able to make a 5/5 here. That also comes along with a 3/3.
Oh, and this Linvala is going to be back-breaking.
Oh, man.
Jeez.
Not going to gain any life.
2 flyers. 2 lethal attackers.
But he is going to get a 5/5 flyer and a 3/3 flyer. And this is going to be very good for Gerry Thompson.
And Austin, I believe, is hellbent. So he's got to draw something real good off the top right now.
Collect a Company? I didn't get a good look at it. We'll wait and find out.
Yeah.
Man, this game has been awesome.
Yeah, this has been a good one.
Just back and forth. Gerry has just been navigating these turns perfectly.
Yep. Seeing all the plays that we miss. Wow, and Austin just says, you know what, there's nothing I can do.
Wow.
That is it. Gerry has 2 lethal attackers.
Gerry Thompson, after just getting ran over game 1, comes back, takes this match, 15-0, undefeated. Wow.
Yeah, unbelievable. I'm so happy that I could have shared this special moment in Star City history with you. Gerry has to be the first one to go undefeated on a whole Swiss for Open.
I don't even know for Open.
We'll have to get
think
Nick
so.
Miller on the line and figure that out. Maybe someone else has done it, but that was phenomenal. And the one question I have is, I wonder how many games Gerry lost, because I know he only lost 1 game on day 1, And I wonder how many games he lost on day 2.